These are 11 performances where fans believe the actors weren't just playing characters but revealing hidden truths that filmmakers deliberately embedded into cinema history. Time loops creating Batman, split personalities we never suspected, and demonic forces disguised as fashion editors all suggest these theories transform how we understand some of Hollywood's most celebrated films. Arthur Fleck creates Batman in a time loop. Over $1 billion worldwide. That's what Joker earned in 2019. And the box office explosion wasn't the only thing that detonated. Fans walked out of theaters convinced Arthur Fleck doesn't become the Joker who fights Batman, but instead creates Batman himself in a repeating cycle that ensures the Dark Knight will always exist. Director Todd Phillips left this door deliberately open, and he's been remarkably candid about it. In The Joker, Vision and Fury home release featurette, Phillips laid it out. There's many ways to look at the movie. He might not be Joker. This is just a version of a Joker origin. It's just the version this guy is telling in this room at a mental institution. I don't know that he's the most reliable narrator in the world. Interviews pushed this further when Phillips suggested, maybe Joaquin's character inspired the Joker. You don't really know. Evidence sits embedded throughout every frame. Arthur's televised murder of Murray Franklin triggers citywide riots.
Get what you fucking deserve!
And during this chaos, a clown-masked rioter follows Thomas and Martha Wayne into an alley after they leave a theater showing Zorro, the gay blade. Both parents get shot while young Bruce watches. And here's the thing, the killer wears a mask directly inspired by Arthur's protest movement. Arthur indirectly murdered Batman's parents. The age problem makes traditional Joker mythology impossible. Arthur clocks in at approximately 35 to 40 years old in 1981, while Bruce is 8 to 10, which means by the time Bruce becomes Batman around age 25 to 30, Arthur would be in his 50s or 60s and far too old to be Batman's nemesis. This impossibility suggests the final Arkham scene takes place decades later when Batman already exists, showing Arthur in white clothes with a psychiatrist. Arthur laughs at an internal joke and tells the psychiatrist, Then the film cuts to young Bruce standing over his dead parents before returning to Arthur, leaving blood-red footprints down the corridor. Phillips confirmed this ambiguity was intentional, saying, I like that people don't really know what happened. The joke might be that Arthur's chaos created the hero who will eventually stop the real Joker, a cosmic cycle Arthur set in motion but can never complete himself. Phoenix lost 52 pounds for the role, surviving on lettuce and steamed green beans while working with doctors to monitor the extreme weight loss. He later admitted, You start to go mad when you lose that much weight in that amount of time. That psychological unraveling may have helped Phoenix understand a character who exists between reality and delusion, never knowing which version of his story is true. Patrick Bateman never killed anyone. $34 million worldwide on a $7 million budget. Those were American Psycho's numbers in 2000, but it became one of cinema's most analyzed psychological thrillers. The theory that Patrick Bateman committed no murders isn't fringe speculation. It's supported by the film's own director and writers, who deliberately constructed the narrative to make reality indistinguishable from fantasy. Director Mary Harron told Movie Maker in 2020, We never thought that none of the murders happened. I don't think that everything happened, but that's for people to decide for themselves. Co-writer Guinevere Turner added another layer. We didn't think that everything was real, because some of it is literally surreal. But we just decided, together, that we both really disliked movies where the big reveal is that it was all in someone's head. The film plants deliberate evidence supporting the no-murder interpretation, and Harron identified the ATM scene, where the machine displays, Feed me a stray cat, as the moment where it becomes less realistic. When Bateman shoots a car, and it inexplicably explodes, Turner explained on the Blu-ray commentary that even he for a second is like, huh? Because even he is starting to believe that his perception of reality cannot be right. Everything crystallizes in the apartment scene. Bateman returns to Paul Allen's apartment expecting to find bodies, instead finding it pristine and repainted with a realtor showing it who asks him not to,
Don't make any trouble, please.
Later, when Bateman confesses to his lawyer Harold Carnes, Carnes dismisses it entirely and claims
Because I had dinner with Paul Allen twice in London, just 10 days ago.
Carnes also mistakes Bateman for someone else, highlighting the film's theme of identity confusion, where no one can actually recognize anyone in this world. Harron instructed Willem Dafoe to perform each interrogation scene 3 different ways, as if Detective Kimball knows Bateman is guilty, suspects, but isn't sure, and has no suspicion at all. These takes were spliced together to create permanent ambiguity, and author Bret Easton Ellis confirmed on the WTF with Mark Maron podcast in 2014, he's a completely unreliable narrator. You don't know if some of these things happen or not. You don't even know if the murders happen or not. Bale got paid just $50,000 for the role, basing Bateman on Tom Cruise's appearance on David Letterman, which Harron described in Black Book as displaying a very intense friendliness with nothing behind the eyes. Bale improvised the moonwalk during the Paul Allen murder scene, and the film asks whether Bateman's violence is real. or the narcissistic fantasy of a man so empty he can only imagine feeling something through acts he never commits. Cobb never woke up. Inception earned $839 million worldwide and took home 4 Academy Awards. But the debate over its ending has never stopped. Christopher Nolan spent 9 to 10 years writing the script and deliberately crafted the final scene to leave audiences uncertain whether Cobb escapes the dream world or remains trapped in his own constructed reality. Nolan has given contradictory answers over the years, which may be the point. At Princeton, in 2015, and on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, in 2023, he said, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Cobb, he was off with his kids. He was in his own subjective reality. He didn't really care anymore, and that makes a statement. Perhaps all levels of reality are valid. He added, Cobb isn't looking at the top, he's looking at his kids. He's left it behind. Yet Nolan also admitted to Wired in 2011, I choose to believe that Cobb gets back to his kids, because I have young kids. Michael Caine provided the most famous interpretive key at a London screening in 2018, telling the audience,
When I got the script of Inception, I was a bit puzzled by it. And I said to him, well, I don't understand where the dream is. You've got to listen to this because you're going to see it in a minute. I said, I don't understand where the dream is. When is it a dream and when is it reality? He said, well, when you're in the scene, it's reality. If I'm not in it, it's a dream.
Caine appears in the final scene, which would confirm Cobb has returned to reality. But here's the thing, the wedding ring theory complicates this. Cobb wears his wedding ring in dreams, but not in reality throughout the film, and in the final scene he appears not to be wearing the ring, supporting reality. The deeper problem is with the totem itself. As Arthur explains, that totems must be personal with known characteristics to tell if you're in someone else's dream. The spinning top was originally Mal's totem, not Cobb's, which means if Cobb is dreaming his own dream, the top behaves however he expects it to. 2 different sets of child actors appear in the credits. The dream children are Philippa at 3 years and James at 20 months, while the final scene children are Philippa at 5 years and James at 3 years. Costume designer Jeffrey Kurland stated, the children's clothing is different in the final scene, and Nolan confirmed to Wired, the kids are not wearing the same clothes at the end, and they do age. We were working with 2 sets of kids. This suggests time passed and Cobb returned to reality, but the top spins for approximately 49 seconds before cutting to black, far longer than previous spins of 18 to 21 seconds. The script's final line reads, behind him, on the table, the spinning top is still spinning. DiCaprio himself admitted on WTF with Mark Maron in 2020, what happened? I have no idea. Jack Sparrow is immortal. Pirates of the Caribbean. The Curse of the Black Pearl earned $654 million worldwide in 2003 while launching one of Disney's most profitable franchises. Captain Jack Sparrow's survival rate goes beyond luck or skill though, and fans believe Jack is secretly immortal, with evidence suggesting writers Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio designed him that way from the beginning.
Son, I'm Captain Jack Sparrow. Savvy?
Disney executives initially hated Depp's performance, with CEO Michael Eisner reportedly asking if the character was gay or drunk. Depp revealed at the Red Sea Film Festival in 2024, they hated me so much, Disney despised me and were convinced that I was ruining the movie. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer had to compile footage to prove the performance worked, telling Deadline, it was interesting but, oh my god, what are we gonna do here? That part was written for Burt Lancaster. It wasn't written with the humor. Depp based Jack on Keith Richards and Looney Tunes characters, telling NME in 2011, I was a little worried about Keith, because, for a good portion of the time I was spending with him, I was sponging as much of him as I possibly could for the character. This trickster foundation connects Jack to immortal archetypes, and writers Elliott and Rossio confirmed in a Box Office Mojo interview, we wanted to create this trickster. Encyclopedia.com and Smithsonian Magazine both classify Jack Sparrow alongside Loki and other mythological tricksters, figures who transcend mortality through cunning rather than strength. The first film establishes Jack's supernatural connection from frame 1. Jack arrives at Port Royal on a sinking boat and calmly steps onto the dock. As it goes under, escapes jail using an ingenious bone and dog trick, gets marooned twice on the same island, and survives both times. During the final battle, Jack deliberately becomes cursed by stealing an Aztec gold coin to make himself temporarily immortal and undead so he can fight Barbossa on equal terms. A deleted scene mentioned on Wikipedia had Jack pondering being the immortal Captain Jack Sparrow. Jack's compass doesn't point north but instead points to what the holder wants most, and the compass was given to him by Tia Dalma, who is later revealed to be Calypso, a sea goddess in human form. This establishes Jack's direct connection to the supernatural world, and across the franchise Jack is killed by the Kraken, resurrected from Davy Jones's locker, makes a deal trading his soul, and repeatedly pursues immortality artifacts. Elliott and Rossio stated Jack has an internal code. He's saying you cannot generalize, you cannot philosophize. Jack operates outside normal rules, because he may exist outside normal mortality, called the worst pirate, yet escaping every trap while always responding.
But you have heard of me.
That reputation transcending normal fame suggests something deeper than a lucky scoundrel. Max is the feral kid. Mad Max: Fury Road earned $380 million worldwide in 2015 and took home 6 Academy Awards, more than any other film that year. It was also the best-reviewed film of 2015 with a 97% Rotten Tomatoes score, and the theory that Tom Hardy's Max is actually the grown-up feral kid from The Road Warrior captivated fans until director George Miller directly addressed it. Miller debunked the theory in an IGN interview in November 2015, saying, "That's great. No, unfortunately, but that's a great idea, only because at the end of Mad Max 2, it turns out the narrator is the feral kid as an old man, and he says,
He lives now, only in my memories."
Miller elaborated, "And I think that's a reasonable interpretation, but not in my mind." Despite this, the theory had compelling evidence that made perfect sense to fans. The Road Warrior ends with the feral kid as an old man narrating,
And the Road Warrior, that was the last we ever saw of him.
The feral kid became chief of the Great Northern Tribe, and Hardy's Max carries a music box similar to one Mel Gibson's Max gave the feral kid. Hardy's Max rarely speaks and communicates through grunts like the feral kid who communicated entirely in growls, and when Hardy's Max introduces himself, he does so hesitantly.
Max. My name is Max. That's my name.
As if the feral kid adopted his hero's identity. A tattoo on Hardy's back reads, Day 12,045, which equals 33 years, and if the feral kid was around 10 years old in The Road Warrior, he'd be approximately 43 in Fury Road, fitting Hardy's age. The problem is, Max's leg brace dates to the first film when he was shot, and the feral kid wasn't injured there. Miller also confirmed when asked if the films connect chronologically, they're not really connected in any very strict way. You can't really put a chronology together. They were never conceived that way. When asked if this is like folklore, Miller replied, "Precisely." Hardy got cast in June 2010 after competing against Armie Hammer and Jeremy Renner, and Mel Gibson attended the LA premiere sitting next to Miller. Gibson's reaction, according to interviews, was that Miller kept chuckling and digging me in the ribs, and Gibson later said, "It's visually spectacular, it's crazy, but that's George. He's a scientist. He's the Einstein of edit." The production was notoriously difficult with Hardy arriving 3 hours late to set, prompting Charlize Theron to request a producer be present because she didn't feel safe. Both later reflected regretfully on the conflict, and Miller built 150 vehicles for the film, but only 88 survived filming. Approximately 90% of the effects were practical, not CGI. Miranda Priestly is literally the devil. $327 million worldwide in 2006. That's what The Devil Wears Prada earned, and screenwriter Aline Brosh McKenna has explicitly confirmed what many viewers suspected. Miranda Priestly is the devil in a modern Faustian narrative, and this isn't fan theory but verified authorial intent. McKenna told IndieWire in 2018, "I felt I was allowed to do what the movie wanted to be, a Faust story, a Wall Street for ladies." She told Refinery29 in 2019 even more directly, "Miranda's the devil, she's the devil. So that handbag Andy gave her friend is from the devil. She was selling herself out and going down the wrong path. She's Charlie Sheen in Wall Street, and you don't want her to be Gordon Gekko." The film follows classic Faustian structure, beat for beat. Andy Sachs is the ambitious young person offered worldly success in exchange for moral compromise, and Miranda's famous line, "A million girls would kill for this job," establishes the sole contract. Andy receives fashion, Paris, career advancement, and luxury, but loses her relationships, betrays her friend Emily, and abandons her values. Then the film ends with Andy throwing her phone in a fountain and choosing redemption over damnation, the same choice Faust faces. The marketing made the devil metaphor explicit with the teaser poster, featuring a red stiletto with a heel shaped like a pitchfork. The pitchfork is Satan's trident, and red is the infernal color, so every promotional material used deliberate devil iconography. Miranda displays supernatural qualities throughout the film, possessing omniscient knowledge of the entire fashion industry, commanding supernatural fear responses in her staff, and knowing about a plot to replace her before being told. When there's a literal hurricane, she dismisses it as,
"Please, it's just, I don't know, drizzling."
Streep's approach to the role was the only method performance of her career, staying in character between takes and refusing to socialize with cast or crew. Streep based Miranda on Clint Eastwood, explaining to Variety in 2016, "He never, ever, ever raises his voice, and everyone has to lean in to listen, and he is automatically the most powerful person in the room. This quiet menace mirrors how the devil is often portrayed, not shouting but whispering temptation." Miranda's most famous scene, the Cerulean monologue, functions as demonic seduction, where she systematically dismantles Andy's sense of independent choice and reveals even her rebellion against fashion was predetermined by Miranda's circle. This mirrors the devil's traditional role as revealer of uncomfortable truths, and Miranda's final line to Andy,
I see a great deal of myself in you.
represents demonic recognition of a kindred soul. Costume designer Patricia Field pushed for Miranda's white hair against producer resistance because the Luciferian Lightbringer imagery was intentional. Andy's character arc directly parallels selling your soul, receive worldly success, lose your identity, face the choice to escape, or remain damned. McKenna explicitly designed it that way. Thanos knew the snap would be undone. $2.052 billion in 2018 for Infinity War, making it the first superhero film to cross $2 billion, then $2.799 billion in 2019 for Endgame, making it the highest-grossing film of all time. Josh Brolin's performance as Thanos across both films created a character directors Joe and Anthony Russo called the lead character of Infinity War, but Thanos' dialogue suggests he understood something deeper about destiny and inevitability that fans believe means he knew the snap would eventually be reversed. Joe Russo explained, "Every villain is a hero in his own story and believes that what they're doing is right. Thanos happens to believe that what he is doing is right, and he behaves nobly towards that goal." Anthony Russo added, "The moment I felt like we had cracked the movie creatively was when we started to think about Thanos as the lead character. Thanos' repeated dialogue emphasizes destiny and inevitability in ways that feel deliberate. In Infinity War, he tells the Avengers,
dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same. And now it's here. Or should I say, I am.
In Endgame, his first words are,
I am inevitable.
Which he repeats before Tony Stark's final snap, and when the Avengers arrive in Endgame's opening, Thanos tells them,
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
This suggests he anticipated their return. The strongest evidence comes from Thanos immediately destroying the Infinity Stones after the snap, using a second snap to reduce the stones to atoms, specifically so they cannot be used to undo his actions. This proves Thanos anticipated someone might try to reverse the snap, yet he also retires to a peaceful planet to watch sunrises. And when the Avengers find him, he seems at peace and doesn't resist death. He destroyed the stones knowing someone might come and appeared resigned to whatever happens next. Doctor Strange's role complicates this, because Strange viewed 14,605 possible futures on Titan and found only one outcome where the Avengers win. Strange gave up the Time Stone specifically to save Tony Stark, knowing Tony was essential to that one winning future, and Thanos witnesses Strange give up the stone to save Tony. A being as intelligent as Thanos would recognize this wasn't surrender but strategy. In the comics, Adam Warlock reveals that Thanos has always allowed himself to be defeated because the Titan secretly knows he is not worthy of ultimate power. The MCU version studied nearly 50 years of Marvel Comics history, with Brolin describing Thanos as Quasimodo, born deformed, considered freak on Titan. Whether Thanos consciously knew the snap would be undone or simply accepted destiny's inevitability remains deliberately ambiguous, but his actions suggest a deeper understanding of the timeline than most characters possess. Hannibal Lecter is demonic or superhuman. The Silence of the Lambs earned $273 million worldwide in 1991 on a $19 million budget before becoming only the third film in history to win the Big Five Academy, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Adapted Screenplay. All went to the film, and it remains the only horror film to win Best Picture. Hopkins won Best Actor for approximately 16 minutes of screen time, a Guinness World Record for shortest screen time earning that award. Hopkins based Lecter on HAL 9000 from 2001 A Space Odyssey and his drama teacher, Christopher Fetz, while never blinking on camera, using a technique from Michael Caine. Hopkins played Lecter as ultra-sane, very still, all brain, and after reading 10 pages of the script, Hopkins said, "This is the best part I've ever read." Academic sources have extensively analyzed Lecter as a Satan or Lucifer figure with remarkable consistency. A ResearchGate paper titled Contemporary Demonology compiles multiple scholarly interpretations, and Soraya, in 1999, wrote that the good Dr. Lecter goes on from strength to satanic strength. Derry in 1999 called Lecter an Antichrist superstar. Sexton in 2001 stated, Lecter is Satan, the only other figure of evil who is wise as well as malevolent. And Whitty in 2002 declared, Lecter isn't just devilish, he's the devil. In the novel Hannibal, a gypsy character named Romula says upon seeing Lecter, that is the devil, Shaitan, son of the morning, I've seen him now. Author Thomas Harris told the New York Times in 2019, I don't think I've ever made up anything. Everything has happened. Nothing's made up. Lecter displays abilities that exceed normal human capacity in ways that feel supernatural. He possesses a preternatural sense of smell and identifies perfume brands through plexiglass with small holes.
Well, at the time, but not today.
Has perfect memory, with Harris describing Lecter's memory palace as rivaling Topkapi Palace in Istanbul for size and complexity, and deduces Clarice Starling's entire background from brief observation. The novel describes his eyes reflecting light in pinpoints of red and mentions he has 6 fingers, mid-ray duplication polydactyly, which Harris notes is a traditional sign of the infernal. The quid pro quo exchanges between Lecter and Clarice mirror Faustian bargains, and Crawford warns Clarice,
Believe me, you don't want Hannibal Lecter inside your head.
Lecter's cell exists in a dungeon-like basement using Gothic descent into underworld imagery, and director Jonathan Demme described Hopkins's Lecter as a human dragon. Mads Mikkelsen, who played Lecter in the television series, said he imagined what it was like to be the devil, rather than imagining what it was like to be Hannibal. Gabriel Bergmoser's 2017 analysis proposed, what if we were to assume that Hannibal Lecter is supposed to represent Lucifer? It would explain a few things. The lack of psychological realism, the otherworldliness, the contradictions, and the infallibility of all his designs. AFI ranked Hannibal Lecter as the #1 greatest movie villain of all time. Nick Fury has been a Skrull for years. Samuel L. Jackson has played Nick Fury across the Marvel Cinematic Universe since Iron Man's post-credits scene in 2008, originally signing a 9-film contract with Marvel. His character has appeared in over a dozen films and shows, but Spider-Man: Far From Home's 2019 post-credits scene revealed something that sent shockwaves through the fandom when the Nick Fury in that entire film was actually the Skrull named Talos. The reveal shows Fury and Hill transforming into Skrulls, Talos, and Sorin throughout the entire film, while the real Fury appears on a massive Skrull space station, clearly in command of the Skrulls aboard. This sparked immediate speculation about how long Fury has been replaced, but the answer is more complex and less sinister than fans initially believed. Director John Watts clarified to comicbook.com in 2019. First of all, to clarify the timeline, that's real Nick Fury, at Tony's funeral, at the end of Avengers Endgame, so it's not like he's been a Skrull forever, or it's not like he's been a Skrull since Captain Marvel. Watts added, it always sort of bothered me, even though we knew that that's what we wanted the story to be, that Nick Fury could get duped. I wanted to come up with one last little reveal that could explain that unanswered question. The key is that Fury authorized the replacement, and in Captain Marvel set in 1995, Fury befriends the Skrulls and learns they're refugees, not invaders. He's worked with them as spies for 30 years, and the 2023 series Secret Invasion revealed Fury is married to a Skrull named Vara who poses as Priscilla Davis. Fury promised the Skrulls a homeworld.
This is the promise. While you work to keep my home safe, Carol Danvers and I will find you a new one.
But failed to deliver for 3 decades, creating the conflict in that series. Clues in Far From Home support the Talos theory in retrospect. Talos, as Fury says,
Mr. Beck is from Earth, just not yours.
Hill calls him Nicholas. When it's established, no one calls him that, and he mentions Kree sleeper cells, which is more relevant for Skrulls. He lacks Fury's trademark suspicion and gets fooled easily by Mysterio. And Captain Marvel directors Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck were asked about a diagonal toast inconsistency. In Captain Marvel, Fury says,
"A toast is cut diagonally, I can't eat it."
But in Age of Ultron, Fury cuts bread diagonally. Boden responded, either Fury became a Skrull, or he got over his weird fear of diagonally cut toast, and we'll never know the truth. Secret Invasion also revealed that Rhodey has been a Skrull named Rava potentially since Civil War in 2016, and the theory that Fury has been secretly replaced is partially true but misleading. Fury uses Skrulls as stand-ins voluntarily when needed, and was not secretly replaced without knowledge. There is no evil Skrull agenda because these are allies, and the real Fury is working on the Saber space station. It's a professional arrangement rather than sinister infiltration, but it does mean moments throughout MCU history may not have been the real Nick Fury. Marla Singer is another split personality. Fight Club earned $101 million worldwide in 1999 on a $63 to $67 million budget. The film received mixed reviews initially but became what the New York Times in 2009 called the defining cult movie of our time, and the film's twist that Tyler Durden is the narrator's split personality is famous.
Answer me, why do people think that I'm you?
I think you know.
Because we're the same person.
That's right.
But a secondary theory emerged, suggesting Marla Singer is also a split personality, making the narrator a 3-way dissociative identity. Director David Fincher has never confirmed this theory, and evidence both supports and contradicts it. Fincher stated, The movie is about thought, it's about how this guy thinks, and it's from his point of view, solely. He also explained the subliminal Tyler appearances. Our hero is creating Tyler Durden in his own mind, so at this point he exists only on the periphery of the narrator's consciousness. Fincher confirmed 4 or 5 shots in the first reel show Brad Pitt appearing for 1 frame before the characters officially meet, and these subliminal Brads establish Tyler as existing in the narrator's subconscious from the beginning. The theory hinges on several observations that seem too deliberate to be accidental. During support group meditation, the narrator's power animal is Marla, which theorists interpret as revealing shared psyche, and when dividing support groups, the narrator tells Marla,
"You can't have the whole brain."
Marla says to the narrator,
"Two sides. You're Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Jackass."
explicitly invoking split personality, and visual evidence includes both Tyler and the narrator wearing identical white boxers. The payphone Tyler uses to call back the narrator has text reading, "No incoming calls accepted." The evidence against this theory is substantial though. Marla interacts with multiple characters beyond the narrator independently, exists before Tyler appears in the narrator's life chronologically, and other characters see and respond to her without the narrator present. Most importantly, neither Fincher nor author Chuck Palahniuk has confirmed this interpretation, and in the novel, Marla explicitly reveals the truth to the narrator by saying, "But you are Tyler," confirming Tyler's identity but treating Marla as separate. Helena Bonham Carter based her performance on David Fincher himself after meeting with Fincher beforehand to ascertain that he wasn't a complete misogynist. Carter asked costume designer, "Who the fuck is Marla Singer?" and Palahniuk named Marla after a school bully he knew. Palahniuk stated, "She's much more expanded in the sequel because she had to be an equal character." Fincher shot 1,500 rolls of film, 3 times the average Hollywood production, and 4 separate commentary tracks exist on the DVD. The film includes a single frame of male genitalia at the very end, and the Marla theory remains unconfirmed, fan speculation, but it demonstrates how Fincher's deliberately ambiguous filmmaking style invites viewers to question every element of the narrator's perception. The Riddler secretly knows Bruce is Batman. The Batman earned $773 million worldwide in 2022, while becoming the longest Batman film ever at 2 hours and 56 minutes. Paul Dano's Riddler terrified audiences, and one scene drove intense debate about whether the Riddler knows Bruce Wayne is Batman or remains genuinely ignorant. Director Matt Reeves and Dano filmed the Arkham interrogation scene over 2 days with approximately 70 to 80 takes, and the ambiguity appears intentional. Dano wrote a character backstory that became the 6-issue comic Riddler, Year 1, wrapped his head in saran wrap to understand the mask experience, and when first putting on the mask, Dano said he felt power, because you don't want the person wearing that mask walking toward you. The Arkham scene is the key evidence, and it's maddeningly ambiguous. Riddler repeatedly cries out Bruce Wayne, while making intense eye contact with Batman. And Batman visibly panics and glances at the security camera. Then Riddler says,
"He's the only one we didn't get,"
using he instead of you when discussing Bruce Wayne, and Batman visibly relaxes at this moment. This creates 2 possible interpretations. The mainstream interpretation is that the switch from he to you proves Riddler sees them as separate people, and Riddler's disappointment that Bruce survived would be illogical if he knew Bruce is Batman. This reading suggests Batman's panic was fear of exposure, relieved when Riddler's third-person language confirmed ignorance. The fan theory interpretation argues Riddler deliberately used third-person language to protect his knowledge from the security cameras, and his statement,
"You and I both know I'm looking at the real you right now,"
could be a knowing final test. In Batman, Hush Comics, Riddler discovers Batman's identity but keeps it secret because the knowledge itself is more valuable than exposing it, and Riddler's philosophy in the Batman states that those wanting to unmask Batman are missing the point. He believes his own mask allowed him to be himself. Riddler's apartment contains photos of Bruce Wayne on his conspiracy board with notes reading, "I know the real you," and letters addressed to the Batman are found, with a Bruce Wayne package. Riddler tells Batman, "You and I both know that I'm looking at the real you right now," which could support either interpretation, since Riddler might see Batman as the true self, and Bruce as the mask, without realizing they're the same person. Matt Reeves has not definitively confirmed or denied whether Riddler knows, and Reeves told The Guardian in 2023 about Dano, "Paul loves doing a lot of takes, as do I. We took 2 days on the final scene between him and Robert Pattinson as Batman. We must have easily done 70 or 80 takes." The deliberate ambiguity served the film's themes of identity, vengeance, and how we see ourselves versus how others see us. If you like this analysis, you'll love where I go next. Click the video on your screen and find out.